Welcome to the Ecommerce Alley podcast, where we believe that great brands are built on passionate leadership, smart operations, and powerful marketing. I am your host, Josh Coffey, and I couldn't be more grateful that you're listening or watching right now. This podcast has one mission: to help e-commerce business leaders expand their vision, their team, and their profits. Today, I'm going to introduce you to the marketing operating system that, if implemented, will unlock limitless growth within your business. Let's do this. Whew! We've made it. 3.5 months of planning and preparation with our team, building this wonderful set that, if you're listening right now, just so you know, we have an actual video set that we built. I'm sitting in an alley right now that is just amazing. Shout out to Katie Foster for all her hard work over the last many months. And we've finally made it to this point. And this podcast is definitely a combination of blood, sweat, and tears. Probably not blood, but more sweat and tears, I would say, from the entire process of building it and figuring out all kinds of different components of how this whole deal is going to operate. So all of that said, thank you for listening, or thank you for watching this. You can always go to alleypodcast.com to get a lot of additional content. If you want to watch it and you're listening, or you want to listen and you're watching, you'll get links to all of that good stuff there. So, who's this crazy fellow talking to you right now, or that you're watching right now? My name's Josh Coffey. I started my journey as an entrepreneur about 10 years ago, and I actually got into the online education space before it was even a thing. I actually had a studio, not as cool as this one that I'm in right now, but we had a studio and we did online drumming education lessons. And in doing that, I learned so much about marketing. And while I don't own that business anymore, 2 years later, I ended up founding Flight Media, which is the marketing and design agency that I own and that I operate right now, that we help our clients generate tens of millions of dollars in revenue every year through digital marketing. And that's kind of brought us to where we are right now. We work with e-commerce brands. We specialize in e-commerce. We live, eat, breathe, sleep e-commerce. We're absolutely obsessed with it. And so because of that, we decided there's no better thing we could probably do than deliver the most top-notch content that we can, to interview people and interview our clients, people that are doing this live and people that are absolutely crushing it, so that way we can give you insights and ideas that you won't find anywhere else. Now, in this episode, what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce you to something that we call the marketing operating system, or the MOS. We use this daily, not only in our businesses, but we use it in all of our clients' businesses as well, because the reality is, it works. It really, truly works. And if you follow the process, if you stick to it, you will undoubtedly shatter any revenue ceilings that you're currently getting stuck at in your business. But the key is, you have to commit. You have to commit. You can't just try this or try one part of it and then give up. You have to follow this process. And this has been a combination of work that we've pieced together over the last 8 years as an agency. Because one of the main questions we get all the time, and I think I still get this all the time, is what do I need to fix next in my marketing? There's so many things going on all over the place that you can be very scattered. There's a new social media coming on the market every 6 months. And so what we decided to do was build a simplified system. We call it the MOS, a marketing operating system, that will allow you to predictably identify bottlenecks and fix them in your marketing so that you can grow your revenue. Every successful business has systems that they operate within for key components of their business. And by doing that, it allows you to experience growth. And I like to think of it like this. Right now, if you're listening, you can't see this, but right now I have my Mac sitting in front of me, and my Mac has an operating system, the OS, right? So my Mac has an operating system. But if you're probably like me, then what happens is you get this little reminder that pops up every so often when it wants you to update your Mac's operating system. When it wants you to update, it pops up. But what do we all do? We all hit the little remind me later. And you might say, remind me this afternoon, or remind me tomorrow, or just remind me in an hour. But the problem is, by hitting that over and over and over again, eventually your programs on your computer begin to get outdated, or certain things start to not work the way they were supposed to work, or sometimes you end up shutting your computer down and in Mac, Apple forces you to do that update. It forces the update. I like to think of the marketing operating system, or the MOS, very similarly, because you might be operating on a crappy, outdated, incompatible version with your marketing. But instead of updating to a new operating system, you keep hitting remind me later, remind me later, remind me later. And I'm here to tell you right now, you should stop hitting remind me later. This is that wake up call, and I'm not gonna force it, I can't force anything. But I want you to force yourself to update your marketing operating system. And to give a good example of this, let's say you were a retail store 30 years ago, and I'm gonna go back 30 years, before e-commerce was really a thing, right? Let's say we go back to retail. And back then, if you were in retail, billboards are still valid today, I guess, but billboards and newspaper were really valid, profitable advertising networks or advertising mediums. And so if you were a retail store 30 years ago and you were running newspaper ads, and you're driving all this foot traffic into your store, well, if you are trying to operate today and profitably grow and you didn't update that program, or in this case, that marketing program, if you didn't update that and you kept doing the same thing over and over and you kept hitting remind me later, remind me later, remind me later, one of two things is gonna happen. You are going to see a massive decline in revenue and growth, or you're gonna have to shut your doors because you weren't able to profitably generate customers. And so the marketing operating system works the same way. But maybe you've said something like this. Maybe a marketing strategy comes on the market, which is very frequently, it seems. So let's say you read about a new marketing tactic, you see something on bot messenger or pay-per-click or email or whatever that is. And you see something and then you just say, I don't have time for marketing. Or maybe you're saying XYZ strategy doesn't work in my industry. My customers aren't there. Or every agency I've ever hired has bled me dry or produced zero results. Whatever that might be. And it might be valid. I'm not saying it's not. It might be valid. But you're really pressing remind me later, because you're not taking the time to figure it out. You're not taking the time to update your programs. And sometimes you have to get rid of old programs so you can have ones that are compatible with your marketing operating system. So markets change, tactics change, methods of communication change, seems like every other day. And social media and search engines realistically change their algorithms every single day, which is why it's important to have an MOS, or a marketing operating system, that doesn't change, but rather the programs or the marketing tactics just need updated or removed as needed. In e-commerce, email marketing must represent 30 to 50% of your revenue, or at least that's what we see in the highest performing e-commerce businesses that we've worked with. And if you've not used Clavio, you absolutely need to. We've been in this business for so many years now that we've tried about every tool, from HubSpot to MailChimp to Aweber to Constant Contact to GetResponse to Clavio. We've used almost every tool that you can probably list off in your mind or that you might be using. And we have never found anything to be as valuable as Clavio for both email and SMS, for our campaigns and our automations. If you've never used Clavio, we highly recommend you try it. Go to alleypodcast.com/Clavio, which is KLAVIYO, to get your trial started today. Okay, so the goal of the marketing operating system is very simple. It really, really is. There's one primary goal, and it is to allow you to identify bottlenecks within your marketing and fix them. That's it. We want to quickly look at your business as a whole and the marketing that you're doing and identify, hey, this is what's stopping our growth. And then this is what we need to do to fix it. So before I go into the MOS. I'm going to break it down for you in just a moment. I want to take it back to 1943. And so I want to take it back to 1943, where there was this brilliant guy named Abraham Maslow. And you may have heard of this, and it's called Maslow's Laws, but it's the 5 levels of human needs. And with the 5 levels of human needs, you have to envision a pyramid. If you've never heard of this, it's a pyramid. And there are 5 different levels of the pyramid, starting at the bottom. And what Maslow states is that starting at the bottom, we have physiological needs. This is the need for food, water, warmth, rest. These are the basic level of human needs. And so we have to have that met, that's a basic need, in order to ascend to the next level, which is safety needs and the need for security in a home. And so you have safety needs. And if you have those met, you ascend to the 3rd level, which is belongingness. And this includes intimate relationships and your friendships, because people need to feel a sense. Humans need a sense of belonging. And then above that, we have esteem needs. And then it ends at the highest level, which is self-actualization. And this is realizing the full potential of yourself, of your life, that feeling of purpose. And so those are the 5 levels of human needs that Maslow stated. And what he stated is we start at the bottom and we ascend upward. So as a need is met, we will ascend through the 5 levels. But as a need is required, we will revert to the lowest level of need. Now, let me give you an example. Let's say all 5 levels are being met all the way up to the point where you have self-actualization. You realize your full potential. You feel fulfillment in life. You have great esteem. You have your spouse, and you have friends and safety and psychological needs. Let's say you have all of this, right? You have all of these things. Well, and then you're out with friends, which is belonging. That's level 3. And you're hanging out with your friends. You're having dinner. All of your needs are met. You feel wonderful. But then as you're eating that prime T-bone steak, a piece breaks off and you start choking. This is probably not a great analogy, but it breaks off and you start choking. Well, what's going to happen is none of the needs matter except the lowest need, which is the physiological need for air, right? We have to breathe to survive. So it's going to drop. Self-actualization goes out the window. Esteem needs goes out the window. Security, you don't even give a crap. You need to breathe or you're not going to live. And so as we ascend, as needs are met, we will ascend through the 5 levels. And as a need arises, we will descend to the lowest level of need. So I read that, and I've known about it for years, and then I read it in a book a couple years ago. As I read it in a book, it started to click, started to make sense, because marketing works very similarly. If we want to ascend through marketing to achieve brand omnipresence and market leadership, if we want to achieve some of these highest levels, we need to ascend from the base and start working up through key components. So after many, many moons of studying and planning and building philosophy and testing this not only on ourselves and our clients over and over and over again, as well as our students, we've established what we call the 3 levels of the marketing operating system. The 3 levels of MOS is what we call it. And so what I want you to do is picture a pyramid. And on the first level, this is that foundational level, you have your website. And instead of psychological, I mean, really your website is the psychological needs of your business. It sells your products. No products, no sales, no business. And so your website in e-commerce is that lowest level. It's the level 1. If you don't have your website, you're not going to be able to ascend or really do much because you can't drive traffic to a dead website or a website that's non-existent, right? So that's the very, very first level. And within website, we have messaging, we have design, we have conversion rate optimization. There are different components in that. And I'm not going to dive, by the way, crazy deep into each one of these levels because the first few episodes, we're going to be diving deeper into these to give you more understanding and more explanation of what they are, some basic components, and then some more advanced components based on where you're at in your business journey. So the first level is your website. And so after we have a website, it's operational, it's functioning, it's working, we ascend to the second level. And the second level is what we call funnels and communication. And this is where we convert and nurture our database of both customers and subscribers. And subscribers are people that have not yet purchased from us yet. So funnels and communication, we're going to send people to a funnel that converts people, and then we're going to nurture them through communication, which could be SMS, it could be email, etc. And it's going to nurture them to the point of making new purchases with us, or repeat purchases with us. So funnels convert traffic into customers and subscribers. Communication nurtures your customers and subscribers to place orders with you. And so we do this through funnels, automation, whether it's emails and SMS, campaigns, whether it's email or SMS, you get the idea. So that's the second level, which is funnels and communication. And the third level, as we ascend, once we have funnels and we have communication established, the third level is kind of like the gasoline on the fire. And this is the traffic. So level 3 of the MOS is traffic. And this grows your database because you're driving traffic to those funnels that allow you to then grow your database. And this can come in the form of word of mouth, just customers loving your products and just referring them to other people and sending them to other people. Word of mouth is the strongest form of traffic that you could drive. The conversion rate is really, really high. But the problem is you can't predictably generate word of mouth. And so traffic is level 3. And then you also have, within that, you have word of mouth, you have organic methodology, and then you also have paid strategies that you can incorporate. Now, one thing I do want to note, that although we have 3 levels, right? We have the website, we have funnels and communication, and we have traffic. It's important to note that each level will never be 100% satisfied. Marketing is a long-term game. It's not short-term. It's a lifelong process in your business of optimization and learning. We really have to think as scientists. I call our whole team. I tell our team, like, we're literally just scientists. We have to test A versus B. We need to see what works and what doesn't work. And then we're going to take what works and we're going to shift that. And we're going to say, okay, can we beat the thing that was working last time with a new thing? And whether that's an angle or a product or a funnel or whatever that might be, there's so many things in marketing you can do. And so your goal is to think like a scientist, to be in this ongoing process of optimization and ascending through these 3 levels. But if you operate within the system, there's good news. You'll always know how to identify where you need to put your next marketing dollar. With marketing, there is no set it. There's no set it and forget it, which I hear that a lot. Hey, once we get our Facebook ads off the ground or our Google campaigns going, we could just set it and kind of cruise on that, right? And the answer is for a short while. Yes, for a little bit, you might be able to, but with real marketing, with powerful marketing, it takes work. It takes patience. If you skip steps or you avoid change and you avoid updating your tactics or your programs within the marketing operating system, you're going to find yourself right back where you started, and that is with an outdated operating system. Now, once you've kind of grasped this, once you know this is the marketing operating system, this is the MOS, we have the 3 tiers, right? We have our website, we have funnels and communication, and we have traffic. The next question becomes, okay, Josh, well, what do I do? I'm doing a little bit of social media. Maybe you're doing a little bit of blogging. Maybe you don't have a funnel. Maybe you've tried Facebook ads, but it hasn't worked in the past before. Your website is operational, but it's not where you want it to be. And there are all these questions, right? Because there's so many things that you can focus on. Well, I like to do a quick 5-minute evaluation, and it's 6 really, really basic questions. And this is more if you're getting started. This is a wonderful place to begin. And in the coming episodes, I'm going to dive deep into more advanced strategies. But here are 6 questions you need to ask yourself related to each one of those levels. The first question is, do I have a website that is functioning well, doesn't look like it was built in 2005, and is currently able to take orders? If the answer is yes, you can put a check mark by that for right now, and we're going to ascend to the next level. There are more things within the website that I'm going to, again, talk about later that are more advanced. But for right now, do you have a website? Is it taking orders? Are you getting orders? Is it functioning? And does it not look like it was built 15 or 20 years ago? If the answer is yes, we're going to go ahead and ascend you to the next level. Second question you need to ask regarding funnels and communication is, do I have a core product page that I drive traffic to as an entry point for people becoming a customer? The first funnel that we recommend is finding a product A product that is a bestseller, maybe you have a bestseller right now, or you have a product that is a core product for you that is a great entry point for your customers. Because you can't run traffic to every product. Let's say you have 120 products, or some clients we work with have 12,000 products. You can't equally run traffic to everything. It doesn't make sense. You have to find what we call our core product or products, and those will become our initial funnels. We're going to drive traffic to them with the goal of acquiring purchases. So that's the first question. Do I have a core product page that I can drive traffic to as an entry point for becoming a customer? The third question is, do I communicate weekly with my database? And your communication can look different. It might be email, which is the most common. It might be SMS, or maybe it is you send snail mail letters to your customers and your subscribers via direct mail. I highly doubt you do that. I'm just being a little absurd here. But do you communicate weekly, at least weekly, with your database? If not, leave that box open, because that's something that you need to fix. I'm going to give you a story. Actually, we had a client start with us, and 5% of the revenue was coming from email. And when we asked them, how often are you emailing your list? They said once per month or whenever they get to it. So as you know, and if you're doing that right now, it might be once per month, but in reality, it's like once every 5 weeks or 6 or 7 weeks. And because there's no plan behind it. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And so you have to send at least a weekly communication. And so this client, 5% of the revenue was coming from email. Right after that, we said you need to start sending at least a weekly email to get you started. Within 4 weeks of doing that, email represented 25% of their entire store's revenue. It was that easy. And we got an email from them saying, oh my goodness, we had no idea this is how powerful email really is and how powerful weekly communication is. So all that to say, if you're not communicating weekly, you have to communicate with your database, customers and subscribers, at least once per week. The fourth question, do I have basic email or SMS automation setup? And this will be cart abandonment in a new customer welcome series. When somebody buys from you, are you indoctrinating them to your brand? Are you sending them a series of 5, 10, 15, 20 emails that are indoctrinating them, getting them to know who you are, what you represent, why you do what you do, and also positioning other products in front of them? So do you have basic levels of email or SMS automations set up? And those are the 3 questions for funnels and communication. 2 more questions. Question number 5 is, do I post on social media 3 to 5 times per week? And this is the reason this is the question, is because typically social media is that very first entry point of organic marketing. Social media is pretty easy. You're probably doing it right now, but are you posting at least 3 to 5 times a week minimum to check that baseline box? If so, check that, and we're going to move on to the final question, and that is, am I profitably advertising on a single paid ad network like Facebook or Google? And profitably is the key. You have to know if you're profitable or not. And I'm going to be teaching you in another episode the 3 rules of profitable marketing and how we apply it to every component of the MOS in a future episode. But you have to ask, am I profitably advertising on a single paid ad network like Google or Facebook? So those are the 6 questions. It's going to cover your website, your funnels and communication, and your traffic. If you have not checked those boxes, then you know this is where I need to fix. This is what I need to fix next. And they're simple questions that will get you started. So if you've answered no, that's where you need to start. If you've answered yes to all of these, then you need to continue listening, because we're going to be deep diving into each one of those 3 components of the MOS in future episodes, as well as walking through our 3 rules to profitable marketing. So to close up here, I want to recap the 3 levels of the marketing operating system. The first level, we have your website that sells your products. The second level, we have funnels and communication. This converts and nurtures your database of both customers and subscribers. And the third highest level of your MOS is traffic. And this expands and grows your database predictably. Now, what I want to do is issue you a challenge. I want to issue a challenge for you to commit to the MOS for the next 90 days. I want to challenge you to commit to following the process for the next 90 days, to using that framework to identify where your bottlenecks are and what you need to fix next. So if you're in, I want you to do one thing. I want you to go to your email. I want you to email me at josh@alleypodcast.com with the subject line, I'm in, as a sign of your commitment. And then that way I can follow along and cheer you on during your first 90 days of implementing the MOS. You've been listening to the Ecommerce Alley podcast. You can find the show notes for this podcast at alleypodcast.com, as well as other resources on the MOS. If you want to visually see what it looks like, you can go find all that information. And please, please, please drop a review of this podcast on whatever app that you're listening in on. On behalf of the entire team at Flight Media, I want to say thank you. Thank you for listening to this podcast, and thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for making the world a better place with your products. We'll see you soon.